Hello everybody, and welcome to Whiz, your family-friendly podcast where we discuss D&D Onslaught, Dice Masters, Heroclix, and other entertaining games made by WizKids. I'm WizDad, that chase Thor that you wish was a little bit more playable. I will be your guide for navigating the competitive and casual scenes of the WizKids Triforce of gaming. It is Heroclix Friday. That means today we are talking about, yes I know, no groans please, we're talking about the wizard himself, Merlyn, and how he can affect your world's team, and how you should prepare for him. Before that, though, it is time for the WizKids Progress Report.
Kowalski, Progress Report.
It is time for the Progress Report. There's not a lot to talk about on the release schedule. We're still holding with bated breath that the Scott Porter figures, well, I guess it depends on who you talk to, whether they want them to come out now and be legal for Worlds, because that would definitely shake up some teams, or if they expect them not to be legal. I anticipate they won't be legal for Worlds. I anticipate we probably won't get them till after Worlds, to be honest. But yeah, if you ordered a Scott Porter figure, last we heard was supposed to be September, we are like a week away, so we will see. But the other thing I wanted to talk about was congratulations to Caleb Reddick, who won Canadian Nationals. His team was a non-themed team with Demon in Armor with the Captain Carter Shield, Sarkarian Iron Man with Cloak of Levitation, Iron Inquisitor with obviously the Masters of Evil swap outs, Starter Watcher with the Pumpkin Bombs, Chip with the Emotional Modifier, the Flash, Green Lantern, the 20.1 with Leadership, that had the Green Lantern ring for free. Basically, his team is a very big defensive shell. It works where, I think, when we talked to him on the Clicked Off podcast, that he could get Sarkarian Iron Man to like a 24 defense if he used the Defend tarot card came up. Pretty nutty. I faced a similar version of that back in January at the Champion Clicks tournament. It was Saturnines and like a mystical, well, it's unthemed, but a very nasty. He knows how to use Demon in Armor well, and so well that he won Canadian Nationals with it. So congratulations again to Caleb. If you want a deep dive into his team and how all his games went, absolutely go check out the Clicked Off podcast. We have an interview on there with Caleb specifically. But yeah, outside of that, for the progress report, Worlds, once again, we're getting close, guys. Very close. This time in 3 weeks, I believe, we will be in Worlds playing singles. Yeah, or at least getting ready, signing up for singles at Heroclix, which is pretty nutty. But if you don't have your team set, now is the time to do it. 3 weeks is enough time to get a lot of practice reps in. Make your plans for what you're going to do at the event. There's tons to do at Worlds, especially if you're a Heroclix player. Absolutely check it out. Make your plans ahead of time, but know that they could change. Maybe you're hoping to get in a bunch of BRs. It's a great time getting in the BRs. I do know that last we heard, as of yesterday, I believe Notorious was delayed until the end of September. I'm hoping, and this is a pipe dream. I'm hoping that the reason it was delayed is because they're using a lot of the product for Worlds. That they've got all of it in the warehouse, and they determined, well, we don't have everything. If we use all that we want to use at Worlds, we can't ship everything out to the stores, so we're gonna delay. That is me being a positive thinker. I try to always be positive, so may not be as good, or may not work out like we like I hope it will. But either way, Notorious is delayed till the end of September. So I hinted at this, but let's get into fishing with WizDad. We will talk about Merlyn.
Get your gear, little man. We're going fishing. And I mean now.
So I know what you're thinking. WizDad, why are we talking about Merlyn? He's just another old guy like you. He only has 3 clicks because there's no way anybody is playing him at 150 points. Why on earth are we talking about Merlyn? He's not that great. And you are potentially right. At 50 points, he's your typical kind of mystical cosmic entity that Whiz likes to produce. Dual target, 7 range, phasing in cap as their kind of movement and attack powers. Think of like Mad Jim and Molecule Man and all of those kind of like cosmic entities, phase and in cap people. That's kind of their forte. But let me read over Merlyn a little bit for those that aren't aware. He is a chase from X of Swords, the main set. The Holy Republic of Fae. During each player, this is a trait. During each player's turn, that character can't give their characters free actions if they've already given a number of free actions equal to their action total that turn. So if you're playing a team with leadership, that means you can give 4 free actions a turn. Now his other powers, I'll go over quickly. He has a defense power, special defense power, invincible, free, roll a d6, 4 through 6, heal Merlyn 1 click, or modifies defense +1 until your next turn. That's fine and dandy. He has a 17 defense, so get him to an 18. Okay. And then he has a damage power, perplex, action total +1, so it's not a leadership. It's better than that. It combos with leadership to get you to 5 actions. He does have power cosmic and mystic. Power cosmic is imperative, because otherwise they could just outwit his stuff and kill him. He's only going to be 3 clicks long, so he is pretty easy to kill at 50 points. And up to this point, he really only saw significant play on the you don't get to really make attacks team like Sinister. Those were really the double Sinister, Moira, Merlyn, Saki type of teams. Those are the only ones that really saw Merlyn see play, and that was only recently. I bring him up today because, one, I'm considering playing him if I was going to play in World Singles, which I'm still on the fence about. There's other things to do at Worlds I'm interested in, like Onslaught, trying to get some Dice Masters going, trying to record some stuff. I'm still on the fence about that. But if I were going to play, I think I'm going to build a team for Merlyn, because there's a lot of events I played in. The Champion Clicks, where I got top 8. Back last year at Nationals, while Merlyn wasn't out, I believe we knew of Merlyn at that point. But if not, either way, there's a lot of teams that I've faced that I'm like, man, your team has so many free actions. Your turn takes so long, legitimately, because you're taking 8 to 9 free actions. And so I had built last year, I did a Google spreadsheet, and I started just listing it out, all the top competitive pieces, and detailed how many free actions they take. And I call it the Merlyn meter. And basically I dictated, okay, if your team has these pieces, a lot of these pieces, you are going to be severely affected by Merlyn. I made 2 categories for each figure. I made minimum effectiveness and ideal effectiveness, meaning if they were limited by free actions, they could still be effective, right? They're still able to do what they want to do, but maybe they don't get that extra perplex, maybe they don't get that sidestep. So for example, one of the biggest offenders of free actions is Circarian Iron Man, everyone's favorite Iron Man. 50 points. Minimum effectiveness for him is a sidestep, because you need to sidestep to pick up an object. Most likely you're charged flurrying with him, so that flurry would be a close for free, so that's 2. And then you're probably doing perplex or outwit, ideally. So he could do 3 as minimum. If you didn't do perplex outwit, then he's doing 2. But you're definitely sidestepping, because you gotta probably pick up that object first turn, second turn. And you're definitely charged flurrying. Now obviously, you could say, WizDad, well, I'm not doing those. Fine, sure, but just the fact that you don't have that option, that maybe you're using all your free actions elsewhere, is a problem. Like, it's something you have to consider. Ideally, he's using 4. He's using Sidestep, Perplex, Outwit, and Charge Flurry. The next his teammate in crime, Scarlet Witch, ideally has 3, because she is doing free action, choose with the Dark Hold, Perplex, and Outwit. Now, she could obviously get away with just one, where she first turn chooses with the Dark Hold, and then she has Perplex, and she just uses Perplex. Perfectly fine. But some of the other big hitters, and the reason I bring this up is because you may not see a ton of Merlyn, obviously, because he hasn't made a big splash, but you could see some of the double Sinister teams, or you might face me if I play. You need to know how to handle. Can your team handle only having 4 free actions? Because obviously, most competitive teams have access to leadership, so they'll have 4 costed actions, and then only 4 free actions. So if I were to look at some of the top meta teams outside of Sarkarian Iron Man and Scarlet Witch, let's look at some of the others just to give you an idea of how many actual free actions they use. The big baddie nowadays is the Prime Spider-Man from the most recent Spider-Man set, Beyond Amazing. Prime Spidey at 80 points. He is by far the biggest offender of free actions. If you're using him, he actually uses, potentially, 5 free actions all on his own. And that's going to be Sidestep, his little web thing where he can move within 4. Wall Crawler, I believe is what it's called. Flurry, when he's doing the charge. And then if you look at his trait that gives him the ability to take another action, it's a free action to activate it, to then do a costed action at free. So that trait on its own actually does take up 2 free actions to do. Potentially. Sure, there is the realm of possibility where you don't do charge flurry, you just do charge attack initially, so you don't have to take that free action to do a flurry. But if you want him to be maximum effectiveness, he is going to do at least 3 to attack. He also has access to Perplex. So I wrote 5, but it's actually 6. Because I did not write that. I forgot he had Perplex. So he actually could do 6 free actions on his turn. And this is what I'm talking about when it comes to the effectiveness of Merlyn. If you can protect Merlyn, he could be very, very good at decreasing your opponent's effectiveness. It's very similar to Doom 67 from Future Foundation, who used to limit your costed actions. Merlyn limits free actions, which I think are more egregious at this point than costed actions. Outside of that, Spider-Man, the MOE suites, the chases, essentially, obviously it's a free action to swap. So if you're taking 2 of those, that's 2 swaps, 2 free actions. So you'll be limiting those swaps sometimes. Most of the chases also have 1 additional free action. So like King Killmonger has a sidestep he'll probably use. Iron Inquisitor has Perplex, which he'll definitely use to give prob to his person. Mephisto, for example, only really has Outwit, so he's not that bad. He's only a 1 on the Merlyn meter. If you were to look at some of the other ones, Arachnite, he's I don't know if I'd say he's seen a lot of play, but he's seeing some play. Arachnite I have listed as a 2. So he's actually not that bad. It is a free action to choose. Well, I guess if you're playing him at full, it has potential at 3. He can choose Flurry, so that means you're going to be charge flurrying. So Flurry would be the free close that you're doing. It's a free action to choose, so that's 2. So 2 to really pick his Flurry and to use the Flurry. And then he also has Perplex. So if you use the Perplex, really, Merlyn really cuts down on your Perplexes. So he might work on like a Caleb Riddick type of defense shell, where it's like, hey, if you want to be able to try to hit my 20-something, you're going to need Perplexes. But no, I guess that isn't as effective as I think, because the Demon in Armor kind of accomplishes that anyway. But it does limit on how many outwits you're going to be trying to do. Other key people that utilize a lot of free actions, Scarab does, it's a free action to copy equipment, then he outwits, and then he can sidestep or use the Dark Hold or, create other things, whatever the free action of the effect is that he's copying. So it hurts him too. Like the 5 Scarab team or 4 Scarab team that you hear about, they're going to be able to copy all those effects, sure, because there's 4 of them, but then that's all of their free actions. Mad Jim, very popular as well. He has 3 because he has his free barrier, he has perplex, and he has his equipment stop. So what I'm trying to say, and those are just the heavy hitters. The ones that are actually not bad at all. Commissioner really only has Outwit, and he doesn't even use it half the time. Apocalypse, the 35.1, doesn't use free actions at all. Carnage Silver Surfer is a huge one. Carnage Silver Surfer uses no free actions. His ability to give him that extra attack is just an after resolutions. It just happens. It's not a free action to activate. So if I were to build a team today, I'll talk a little bit about my potential team if I were building Merlyn. The downside to Merlyn is that if you're playing him, you are also limited to that amount of free actions. So you have to build a team that is not affected by that many free actions. You also have to build around protecting Merlyn. That's why the Mr. Sinister team was so effective, is because Mr. Sinister was able to protect Merlyn to a degree, made it where you could not really attack him. So my thought process with building around Mephisto's on the team, building with Merlyn, is building a cosmic team, have Mephisto on there, have 2 sets of the MOE chases, so that way I can have King Killmonger and Iron Inquisitor there to give the King Killmonger rollout, and to also give the Iron Inquisitor mastermind potential. Mephisto there to heal those 2 up consistently, and then also 2 Carnage Silver Surfers, because Carnage Silver Surfer, as I just mentioned, is a 0/0 on the Merlyn meter. They do not take free actions at all. Unless you equip them with like the Darkhold to give them free actions, they do not take free actions. Or like Waldo arms. The plan is that team leaves me with 80 points. So I'm probably not equipping Carnage Silver Surfer. Just because of King Killmonger, his rollout is pretty nutty. I am probably giving a ring to Mephisto. Probably the Sinestro to give him perplex, or you can't go wrong with most of them. Probably not Empower. Well, no, because he can't get carried by Carnage Silver Surfer. I'd give him a ring at some point, because honestly, I don't care if he uses a power action to pop out a construct, because I am limited on free actions. So that's fine, right? It's perfectly fine. I've got 5 actions to build with, as long as I stay on one of my leadership pieces to give me leadership, like Iron Inquisitor. But even still, I would still have 4 even if I lost Iron Inquisitor. That leaves me 10 more points. At that point, I would either potentially give Merlyn the symbiote to give him stealth. I have thought about giving him the time platform to give him an additional out if he gets hit, but I'm leaning more towards the stealth, and maybe equipping one of my Carnage Silver Surfers with like the 5-point like shock gauntlets or something to give knockback, because that is quite powerful. I don't know if the team is any good. It really is just one that I'm considering if I was going to play in singles, just because I like to play the Disruptor card, just to be the one that plays something that really messes up a team, and I think that could be really fun to do. If I were going to have a fun day, even though I know the meta is very crazy, that would be something I would strongly consider. So what I want you to take away from this Fishing with WizDad is think about how your team is affected by Merlyn. You may not see a lot, but the ones who win worlds are the ones who prepare the most, typically, or have the best luck. But typically it's the one who prepares the most. And so that means even if the likely scenario is not going to happen, they at least have a mental note of what to do when it does. So that way they're not shocked by, oh, I'm playing against Merlyn, suddenly I don't have free action, so now my flash zipping across the map, bringing everybody over, and me doing the sidestep dance for 5 minutes. I can't do all of that sidestep dancing because I'm out of free actions. It's not, I don't consider Merlyn necessarily a gacha, but he's probably the closest legal okay gacha that there is in in Heroclix, where it's like, he limits you to free actions, and your team is severely built on free actions, as a lot are. Don't forget, all the constructs that pop out, most of the constructs that pop out, is a free action to pop them out. And some of them do things for free. The Hydrant, I believe, removes blocking or terrain markers for free. That's significant. The Boot, I believe, knocks back for free. So the Mission Point team that Lucas played at Nationals, I believe, utilizes a decent amount of free actions. So that is just something to think about. Whether you're going to play Merlyn, when you're thinking about playing him yourself, you got to protect him. He's fairly easy to kill. I think the double MOE chases might be enough, because they also do a lot otherwise, right? Iron Inquisitor gives me the TK, the access to Perplex, which then leads to Prob. I've mentioned it before, the MOE chases are a incredibly strong, borderline, if not egregiously overpowered chase set. So I think they're enough to make Merlyn good enough. So I might play it once again. Who knows? But yeah, that'll kind of cover it for the Merlyn meter. And you know what? I think that's going to actually cover it for this episode. I know this might feel a little shorter, but once again, that's kind of the goal of this episode, is to kind of give you a little bit of, a little 30-minute, 45-minute snippet of what's going on in the world of Heroclix, who won, some talking points about what's coming up, and talking points about how to play the game. And so today it was just a short little thing about Merlyn, so you know how to handle him when he comes out. We've got, like I said, 2 more weeks of episodes until Worlds. I plan on hopefully recording an episode or 2 at Worlds, or at least on the way, if I can make that work. So next week we will potentially cover more of the teams you might see at Worlds, help you prepare for it. And we might talk some sealed. I know I've been mostly hitting competitive Heroclix, but that's because I figure after Worlds there'll be a little bit of a lull, and we'll talk more casual. So I'll slide some sealed talk in there, especially for Notorious or Avenger 60, whichever one we get. But thank you all for listening to this episode of Whiz. I hope you have a fantastic day.